Hey guys, King and Charmander here. Today I bring to you my best guide on the weapon balance update that's going to start on December 7th. Along with that, if you look at the Monster Hunter Now news page, major updates will happen every 3 months. So this is December, so this means March 2024 will be the next major update. Capcom devs decided to change the balance of monster and weapon types, and what they did specifically was that they paid attention to weapon characteristics and the advantages and disadvantages of their original intent, whatever that means. So apparently they had an intent with weapons, and I don't even know what that means, but you know, we're gonna find out as we analyze and look through this data. And this adjustment is geared towards the close range versus long range weapon risk factor. I'm not going to read this entire thing, I'm just going to get straight to the point. Close range weapons should have lower risk, and according to them, long range weapons should be harder to aim. The dev team feels that close range weapons have too much of a disadvantage focused around risk and damage. So basically the risk for long range weapons in comparison to monster attacks is too high. They feel like there's too much of a gap between close range and long range when it comes to the risk factor as well as the damage output. This is factual since long range weapons do have attacks that do a big amount of damage, and you don't really have to sit around and wait for the risk like for the longsword with Prairie. And I'm not going to drag this out for 8-minute rad revenue. Actually, this may end up being 8 minutes, but I'm going to get straight to the point. So we're going to start off with the sword and shield, and the updates for the sword and shield are going to be that damage when guarding will be reduced. I don't even know why. Guarding is like, depending on your armor and your guard equipment skill, I don't even know, but yeah. And now a perfect guard will now be possible with a well-timed guard, and this reduces damage more than a normal guard and procs the offensive guard equipment skill. For those of you that don't know, the offensive guard equipment skill requires a well-timed guard, so this is what perfect guard will allow you to do as well. Guarded backstep will be faster, and this is a great update for Sword and Shield and reflects Iceborne mechanics more. Faster backstep is amazing. I always felt like the close range weapons were just way too slow. Like, it's like, oh, like, it's like half as slow, it's like half as fast as they would be in World or Iceborne. So I'm glad that they're increasing the speed, and that I'm kind of like weirded out for the guard, because guard isn't that overpowered. You need guard 3 to stop a knockback and to even like reduce significant damage, especially when you hit 8-star monsters. And for the greatsword updates, we have the window of invincibility when charge tackling will be sooner, transitions from charge slashes will be quicker, evades will be faster after a charge slash, and after a jumping wide slash, you will now be able to transition into a charge slash by tapping and holding. So this is awesome because this was a must-need update for Greatsword. The Greatsword feels so much faster in World and Iceborne, and these updates allow the Greatsword to reflect that. That's what's really holding the Greatsword back, is that the Greatsword feels really slow, and there was a lot of risk for the Greatsword just because the timing, the window of invincibility, along with that, and the ability to evade after was just way too slow. So hopefully, all you Greatsword users that love big single hit damage, now you could be faster, and it reflects a lot more of the main series game feel. Next up, we have Hammer Smash. You will Hulk smash with this hammer, and with the hammer updates, using lock-on will make charging towards a target smoother. You will be able to evade more quickly after all attacks, and this update overall is very similar to the Greatsword. So the evade speed is exactly what was holding back the hammer main, just because there's your window of dodging or evading after an attack was just way too long. Like, I believe it's after the first Big Bang combo. After that, you can't really get into it, and if you want to tap, charge, and dodge, it was just way too, it was long. So now, with this, it will give you a faster feel, and just like the Greatsword, you will feel faster, and it gives you that more reflective feel to the main series games, like World and Iceborne versus Monster Hunter Now's clunky and slow mechanic right now. And here we go, the FOMO, the moment you've been waiting for. Everyone's been afraid, at least the majority of the bow users. They thought the bow was going to be nerfed to the ground. Honestly, it wasn't. I was never worried about the bow being nerfed to the ground because Black Diablo's bow is just so good. And if they nerfed damage values or the focus values, then it would have been a lot more stressful. And it would have been really bad. But this actually isn't that bad. So, with the bow updates, damage reduction when distance between you and a monster will be greater, large monsters will be more resistant to shots aimed at their non-weak parts, a perfect evade will increase charge levels by 2, and this is kind of strange because it already did that anyways, or if you dodge after using a charge shot or using Dragon Piercer, it's a full charge, so I don't know what the heck they're talking about, but the speed of rapid arrows will also be slightly increased, so better accuracy apparently whenever you hit a target with rapid. So the nerfs aren't bad at all. I like the challenge of making the bow more skill-based. Positioning has always been important in Monster Hunter games, and unless you are breaking parts, you should be aiming for weak points anyways. I will be doing a guide because in Monster Hunter Now's quest, in MHN quest toolbox, there is a whole entire list on monsters' weak points. So you should, unless you're breaking parts like I mentioned, you should be aiming for those weak points anyways, and positioning has always been important. This will force those Puke cheesers that are trying to cheese their way to 8 stars to actually be much better at positioning because of the fact that spread has such a forgiving range. Spread, you can do maximum damage up close as well as like one roll away, I believe. So because of this, I like the fact that they're making the bow more skill-based, as it should be. If you are going to be a master of the bow or do really well with the bow or the Lightbowgun for long-range weapons, it should take a higher skill ceiling, unless it's like a longsword. Then longswords just have really high skill ceilings for close-range weapons. And for the Lightbowgun, which is the only other long-range weapon in the game for Monster Hunter Now, because the bow is the only other one. So here's the Lightbowgun updates. Damage reduction when there's distance will be greater, just like the bow. Large monsters will be more resistant to shots aimed at non-weak parts, just like the bow. And here's the really interesting one, and I think it's a huge improvement. Perfect evades when ammo is maxed out will grant a bonus of +1 to ammo. So if you time your perfect evades right, you can use this with spread and pierce ammo and get a +1 shot, which is a lot of damage. Getting a +1 to your spread damage up close is a lot, especially if it's like an elemental weakness, so this is a great update. So again, all these nerfs to the Lightbowgun are very similar to the bow nerf, however the perfect evade is much more interesting and, like I mentioned, a great addition to the game. And last but not least, we have the longsword update. For you Sephiroth blade wielding users, there is no updates, so you can rejoice. It's not nerfed, it's not buffed, unfortunately, but longsword aligned with Capcom dev's image as a high skill weapon. Personally, I feel like it's balanced as well. I didn't think there would be any changes. When it was longsword, I was just like, you know what, the longsword is hard to play anyways to do max damage. Prairie, if you are good with sound in the ears, like Prairie is amazing, but it does take a high skill ceiling to do maximum damage with the longsword. And it is perfectly balanced, as all things should be.
Look. Pretty, isn't it? Perfectly balanced, as all things should be.
Ah, I love Marvel. Well, I can't wait for Deadpool 3, but The Marvels was a terrible movie. It wasn't terrible, it was okay, but I love Thanos, and Thanos' character, at least we weren't finger snapped to where bow was like cut in half at damage. No, it actually wasn't as bad as people would predicted it to be. In addition, there are other updates. So there are roars of each large monster have a wider range. If you're far enough away, like you back roll away, roars won't actually affect you. I'm assuming they're removing that, so now roars will affect you if you're not out of range for the monster. Your formula for increasing attack power by multiply has changed. Someone from my Discord community mentioned this. If you look at it in Spanish, it says like something from 5% to 4% for burst. So they're gonna nerf values for like attack multiplier item or equipment skills. So yeah, I don't know why you still have the G6 Rathian Van Braces to get 10% anyways for it to be really worth, but it's Niantic. Or yeah, it will take slightly longer to evade after getting up from heavy damage. In other words, if you're knocked down, it's going to take longer for you to get up. So Great Gyros is going to tear our soul out because it's going to take you longer since you're knocked down. So beware of Great Gyros. Window of invincibility when reviving will be slightly longer. Thank you, Niantic. Thank you, Capcom. Because honestly, it was super annoying when you would revive and then when your character would get out of it and then you get attacked again. Like, it would be super annoying. So I'm glad this update's going to be in there. It's easier to launch an appropriate attack based on your proximity to a monster. I'm guessing this is for close range weapons. It's going to be easier for you to actually do the right attack when you're close. For example, like if you're short range weapon like hammer, it'll probably be easier to hit it. So I'm guessing that by that, we'll see when I do a video on the comparisons between the close range nerfs, etc. And some daily quests will increase rewards. Like you see over here, you're going to see some things like Winged Drake Hide is going to go from 3 to 5. Machalite Ore, Monster Bone, etc. is going to go from 1 to 2. But this is daily crest rewards. Not the ones you get from taking them out, the small monsters you take out on the world map. No, this is just the daily quests. So that's nice, but not too much, nothing to really celebrate about. And here's my personal opinion about the weapon rebalancing. For the most part, I agree with the changes. I think it's good. Bow and Lightbowgun aren't nerfed to the ground, so they just require more skill to play, which I agree with. If you're going to pick up a great weapon in long range, you should be like World and Iceborne, where you have to aim effectively, because monsters in Iceborne are a lot bigger, but it also takes a lot more skill to aim with the bow, especially since you can't tap and hold like charge sidestep, like just tap and hold in the main series games like in Monster Hunter Now. I personally think the bow's easier to play in Monster Hunter Now versus the version in Monster Hunter World Iceborne. Close range weapons get some much needed updates. I really think the close range updates are really good. I can't wait to test them out and try them out, because they needed that speed and they needed that balance. So those buffs are actually really good, except for you longsword users, which they didn't touch anything with them. And the guard damage reduction update for Sword and Shield makes no sense. Guard isn't that broken. Yes, you reduce damage, but you're taking damage on purpose instead of proccing perfect evades. And in order for guard to be good with Sword and Shield anyways, at least from like 8 stars or like higher star monsters, you need to invest in the guard equipment skill, which takes away slots from other great equipment skills. So yeah, I don't get that. But yeah. And that's the updates. I will be doing a before and after video for bow once the update comes out, so look out for that video, along with the new monsters and weapon tutorials. I'm going to try to get pre and post nerf content out there before I leave for the Philippines, so I'm going to try to do it for every weapon to make a comparison. Gonna record some footage and then do it for every weapon. But that's going to be like spanned out, because I'm going to prioritize the dual blades and lance tutorial versus, and the large monsters versus making these. So yes. So with that being said, I have the flu right now. Like, I woke up like garbage, but I'm still powering through. I actually couldn't record this video last night because my voice was destroyed. I still can't believe I did 5 therapy sessions with this voice, but it's actually getting better. Like, recording this video actually made my voice better. So yes, with that being said, I'm still sick, but pumping out content, so please do me a huge favor. Like, subscribe, and comment for YouTube algorithm. I can't wait for these updates. I can't wait for the huge December update. Good luck on your grinds, and I will see y'all on the next video.